Hello, everyone, and welcome to The Lineup with Dave Prodan. I'm Dave Prodan, and this is episode 11. Thank you to everyone who has downloaded and listened and subscribed to The Lineup so far. We've been dropping these every Friday since last November, and everyone's feedback has been really appreciated. In response to this feedback, a bit of housekeeping before we move forward. There won't be a lineup next Friday, January 31st. But there will be one the following Tuesday, February 4th, and we'll be releasing episodes on Tuesdays moving forward. So now you can listen to them on your commute to work or school during the week and better use your weekend time to unplug and get outside, as we all should. So keep the feedback coming in. We'll continue to evolve these as best we can. We have some really good episodes coming up for this year, including today's, which happens to be one of my favorites so far. All right, episode 11. For fans of the modern surfing phenomenon, the Brazilian Storm is as known as Kelly Slater. It's simply a foundational pillar of what makes up surfing in 2020. And as we've said on this very podcast before, that hasn't always been the case. When I started at the ASP in 2006, Adriano de Souza was a rookie and he finished 20th on the CT, and he was the highest placing Brazilian. Today, January 2020, 20 of the last 30 men's CT events have been won by Brazil, 2/3. That is staggering, and we all know how last season ended with Italo claiming the world title, Gabriel Medina runner-up, Felipe Toledo 4th, and that train keeps on moving. However, there was not always a storm, and it certainly didn't come out of nowhere. And for those who preceded the storm, who in hindsight could be considered harbingers of it, they did so with a fraction of the sponsorship support that people enjoy today, and in an often harshly xenophobic and racist surfing world. They were alone. Our guest today is one such Brazilian who navigated the early 2010s on the world stage as a forerunner to his country's current dominance. He ushered in a new era of progressive fin-free aerial surfing in competition with his qualifying series campaigns of 2008 and 2009. He took down Kelly Slater at home in Brazil during the destined 2010 Slater season, and he suffered the public wrath from the world champ in that post-event press conference. He's qualified and fallen off tour, and qualified and fallen off tour, and qualified and fallen off tour 3 times, more so than anyone else. And he continues to redefine himself and his surfing. He's also someone who genuinely believes he is a world title contender in 2020. Please enjoy the Lineup's conversation with Jadson Andre.
The good old clap, take one.
That's right.
How many of you knew what you wanted to be when you were 7 years old? I did. I wanted to be a world champion.
Hey, is there honesty involved in this podcast? Can we be honest?
You can shut your fucking lips.
And then I'll just say, put them up, what? Let's go.
He's like, you look too pretty on the wave. Get ugly.
We can talk about DMT if you want.
I thought you were boxing.
Okay, cool. So we'll get into it, Jadson Andre.
Right.
I wanted to start by getting your perspective on how you view your own status inside Brazilian surfing. You know, your career falls a little bit before the current Brazilian Storm, but you're post Neco and Flavio, you're pre Gabriel, Felipe. You know, how do you view your own role in the broader Brazilian surfing community?
I don't even know where to start with that, but since I'm 17, 18, I've been watching all those guys, Neco, Teco, Peterson, Danilo, Marcelo, Fabio, and Adriano, and I knew things was changing already. But
why did you know that? What was it about that?
Because before, the Brazilian guys, they always try their hardest to do well, but they never really, won the contest and stuff, you know. And then when Adriano qualified, everybody paid a lot of attention on Adriano, what Adriano was going to do. He was our biggest hope to get the first world title, you know. So I was only 17, 18, but I was able to see that like Adriano is is the guy that probably gonna break that thing, you know?
What was it about Adriano that felt different?
Pretty much everything. The way he serves, the way he competes. As a professional, Pinga took such a good care of Adriano. Like, the other guys, they were amazing surfers as well. I know Neko won contests. They made finals, Victor Ribas, you know what I mean? But I'm not 100% sure, but I think Adriano, since his first day with Pinga, Pinga was training him to be number one of the world. You know what I mean? So that's when things, in my point of view, start to change. And lucky, I was next to Adriano. So I was able to see everything really close. And 2 years after, I qualified. But I knew about Gabe and Philippe because I love to watch people. I love to see people improving, you know what I mean? So I don't know where I can find those interviews, but I used to tell people like 9-10 years ago that the Brazilian was going to be like I don't know how can I say that, like was going to be like the best surfers at that time, you know? So
you said it changed for you though. Like, I'm wondering, what were you thinking before it changed? Was it just, we just want to get on tour before we might be the best in the world? What was the mentality before Adriano, do you think?
I don't really know because I wasn't close to those, to the old guys.
Sure.
I used to watch on the TV, you know? But when I got close to them, I knew they were different from the way they act was different the way Adriano was acting, you know? And I knew Pinga, and Pinga, I know how Pinga works, and Pinga wants to be the best always. The way he thinks, the way he does his own things, in the end of the day, he just want to be the best. He just want the best for everyone. And
for those who don't know who he is, how would you describe Pinga to the listeners?
Pinga, he's a cool guy. He's a cool guy, and he loves surfs. And when you see him, doesn't look, he's really patient, but he loves it. He's competitive, and he wants the best for you. Sometimes he kind of get confused in the middle of the things, kind of like I don't really know how to explain, but I know in the end of the day he wants the best for his athletes.
And he's he's a scout, he's a manager, he's a coach. He develops
kind of tried
Brazilian
to do everything.
Talent. Yeah,
he kind of do everything. He coaches, he manage, he does the schedule. Like not sure how can I say that, but he kind of do everything, you know. And the guy's pretty good. He had Adriano, he had Miguel, Caio, Italo, myself, Danilo Costa, and another guys. Like I would say 8% of the Brazilian guys on tour used to work with Pinga, so the guy has something special, right?
For sure. And so Adriano was a real game changer psychologically for you yourself, in a big way.
Yeah, and as I said, I was lucky enough to have the same sponsor as him. We were teammates, and I see the way he approached things. I learned a lot with Adriano, because when I start to compete, when I start to surf, the only thing I used to do is wake up, get my surfboard, and go surf. And Adriano, he wake up, he trains, and like he was different, you know. He was different, and things changed after Adriano. And then when Gabe and Philippe, when they got on tour, what can I say? They just went like very first, I think the second contest of Gabe on tour, he destroyed France. And then his fourth contest, he destroyed San Francisco. And right there, people knew what he was going to do, you know?
Well, your first year, you destroyed Santa Catarina. You know, was your mentality in that era, just before, you know, Gabe and Felipe, you came on, you won a CT, you beat Kelly in Brazil. Was your mentality, I'm going to win a world title?
I don't even know what I was thinking back then, to be honest. I was just a guy that I went to the QS, not think about qualifying. I mean, I still love to compete, but back then I was just addicted. Just want to surf contests. I just loving to surf as much hit as I can. And when I got on the QS, I was just pretty much winning every single hit. And then got on tour and was not even thinking that I was on tour. I was just happy to be able to surf with Mick, with Joe, with Kelly, with Taj, because those guys were like my heroes, and still today. But I wasn't paying attention for the city where I was. I was just surfing. And then when I won that contest in Santa Catarina, everything changed. I kind of put a lot of pressure on myself, like, oh, am I really number 4th of the world right now? So that's when I kind of stopped to enjoy where I was and put pressure on myself, you know? So I'm not going to compare myself with Gabe and Philippe, you know?
Well, I think it's interesting because you might not, because you're a pretty humble guy, but just as Adriano changed what you believed was possible, I think that win in 2010 against Kelly, I mean, we hear it all the time from Gabe and Felipe, changed what they thought was possible. And that, you know, upon reflection might ultimately be like a huge part of what your role's been in this so far.
I remember in 2010, I used to travel with Gabriel and his dad, and we just learned so much with each other. And even today, his dad respects me so much. I have a really good relationship with Gabriel's family because we did help each other in the beginning a lot. And I remember at Lovers, when it was a prime, I think Miguel won that prime back in 2011. I'm not sure which year was that, but Gabe lost in the quarters to Jesse, and Gabe was crying so much. Like, he was so sad. Like, I never win. I never win. Why? He was like that sad. Like, and I was like, I gave him a hug. I was like, Gabe, your time is gonna come. Relax, just relax. And the next very contest was in Santa Catarina, the prime, and he just smoked everyone over there, and that changed his career. And that's just like cool to see that I was kind of able to help him somehow, and his dad, and now they's the one who kind of helps me, you know. So since ever I've been an underdog, and he's been pretty much number 1, I mean top 3 guys. And when we talk today, he kind of shows me like what I did in the past, and I showed him that it was possible to do it, and now he kind of wants to show me that I still have it. And in Tahiti this year, that he made a final with Owen, we had a really nice moment over there. We chat every single day, and over there, he changed my mind, like, because I always trust myself, I always did. But when you be on tour and you don't make finals, when you always fighting for just to be top 22, not to be in top 10, you kind of start to ask yourself if you're good enough, you know.
And you lose way more than you win in surfing, right?
Yes, you do, especially me. Always being over there, Route 3, you know. And it's hard. And he told me, like, when you start to believe in yourself again, we're gonna be in trouble. That's what he told me. And he was not saying just for me to feel good. He told me straight from his heart. And I was like, yeah. And then the next contest was in Pantene, which was a QS. But I wasn't having a good time in the last 4 months. And I destroyed Pantene and got 3rd. And changed a lot. I didn't have a really nice campaign after that. But right now, for 2020, I feel that I still have a lot to give and show people where I can be.
Well, we're going to get to that, but I want to track all the way back to where you came from in Natal City and your family and how you got into surfing. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, it was funny the way I started to surf, because I used to play soccer when I was a kid, like 7, 8 years old. I still pretty good play soccer. And
that's rare for a Brazilian. Be good.
Now I was like better than most of the guys who plays well.
Sure, yeah.
And I was going to leave how can I say, want you to help me. I was going to live in the club.
Yeah, like a development program.
Yeah, I was going to stay with the club.
Mm-hmm.
I was going with my cousin because he was like 14, 15, and I was only 8.
Oh, wow.
So we were walking. It's about 3 miles away. And that day was raining so much. So we came back, and my uncle was the only one who serves in my family, and he was going to the beach, and I didn't get to go home. I asked him to take me to the beach because if I went home, my dad and my mom, no way they would let me go to the beach. So I went to the beach with my uncle. He surfs for like 2 hours, and he asked me if I want to surf. So my first ever try, I stand up and went straight, and I was like, that's cool. And then just I was just in love. I just want to surf. So that was crazy because my dad, he fights with my uncle. He was like, you destroy my son's life. What are you gonna do now?
Because your dad was a pretty young dude too, right?
Yeah.
They had you when they were really young.
13, 15.
13
yeah.
and 15.
Yeah.
And your dad really wanted you to pursue soccer as a career.
Because a lot of soccer play in Brazil, they change their family life, you know.
Of course.
It's crazy, like, how much money they made if they just if they just play well. Anyways, my dad, that was crazy. Like, my family had a really hard time, and I was not even listening to my dad anymore about soccer. I was like, oh, I'm done with that.
You're hooked.
Yeah.
And you were 8.
I was 8. Yeah, I was 8. And anyway, so after, I would say maybe 5-6 months, I was getting better and better. So my second surf contest, I made a final, and I won a trophy. And my dad was like, wow, is that really? So after that little trophy, my life changed.
But at that time, did your dad see surfing as like an equitable avenue for financial stability? Like, no, but he just saw that you were good.
Yeah, he kind of like give up about me to be a professional soccer because I didn't want to play anymore.
Yeah.
And he was like, I'm not gonna like force him to do it because so if he want to surf, let he do whatever he wants.
What position did you play soccer?
Striker. Number 9. So, yeah, when I was 10 and 11, I was just a little contest machine, winning every single contest back home.
Was there, in Natal City, was there a big surfing scene? Was that where a lot of the good surfers came from? Or?
Yeah, Joca Junior is from my place, Danilo Costa is from my place, Marcelo Nunes.
So you had a lot of guys to look up to and compete with.
And they all were on tour. So yeah, it's a kind of famous place for surfing. And that's pretty much how I started.
And at what point did you get identified by Pinga, and did he pull you into his program away from home? Like what was that like?
Yeah, I used to have a lot of sponsor from my city that people, they used to pay my entries, my, like, not flight tickets for the bus. How can I say? They pay for the transfer.
Oh yeah, transit. Yep.
Yeah, for the transit and stuff. And then Pinga went to my place to see another guy. And then,
do you remember who?
Yeah, it's a funny name, Pirulito. It's like Ken Pop. That's his name. And when he saw me, he was like, no, I want this guy.
Oh, poor Ken Pop.
And then that's funny, but that's what happened. And then when I was 12, I got into his program. And when I was 13, I moved to São Paulo.
Yeah, so that you had to move away from your family.
Yeah, I did. I went to live by myself when I was 13.
And was your family situation, did you have a lot of money, not a lot of money growing up?
No, my family, they were like fishermen, they used to live just fishing. I mean, they still doing it.
Was that pretty common in Natal City? Was that most people there?
Yeah, especially where I come from and where we still live. Mm-hmm. People is like really simple people.
Was it a big deal when you decided to move away at 13? Were they happy for you?
They didn't even complain. Because with 13 years old, I was almost a professional surfer, you know.
In Brazil?
In Brazil, it
Yeah.
was just like winning every single contest, every Brazilian tournament.
Were you getting paid, sponsors?
Yeah, I was getting paid from Oakley, and when they told me I had to leave, they didn't even complain. But there was a really hard moment for them. I was happy. I was like over the moon. Yes, I'm moving. I'm going to São Paulo, you know.
Yeah. It's hard. I mean, it'd be really hard for parents.
Yeah.
But you mentioned, they were fishermen. When you started getting sponsored by Oakley, was that a pretty big deal to have money coming into the family and for you to contribute back?
Yeah, they didn't let me go because I was going to pay them or because I was making money. They let me go because they wanted me to do well.
Yeah.
And live my life and have a better life than the life we used to have.
Sure.
So, yeah, we just had a hard time in the beginning because he didn't want me to surf, and then he let us surf, and then he was supporting me so much. Sometimes he used to go with me, like take the bus and drop me and then come back home. So, yeah.
What's it like at 13 living in Sao Paulo by yourself in that program? What was your day-to-day like? What did you do there?
How can I say? I felt like I'm the man. I live by myself. I'm 13.
I think any 13-year-old in the world would feel that way.
So, but that was the most important part of my life because I left my parent to live by myself. So I had to wake up every day in the morning to go to school by myself. I had to do my own meal. I had to pay the bills from the house when I was 13, 14 years old, So that make me, I'm 29 years old right now. It feels like I'm 48 for what I've been lived,
I think some of your colleagues on the world tour still don't pay their own bills.
I know, I bet they
learn
don't.
at 13.
I know a lot. They don't even carry their boards.
So 13, until what age did you start? I would imagine at that time you start competing on the QS nationally and then internationally. Talk us through that time.
My first QS, I was 15 years old, was in Brazil, in Bahia. And back there, the QS had a lot of people. I remember, I think I made about 6 hits, What's his name? He's a judge right now. Young Judd from Top City, from Australia. Ben Dunn.
Ben Dunny.
Ben Dunny, he beats me in that contest. So, yeah, I competed a few QS, just one QS once in a year. So, I was just doing all the Pro Juniors back in Brazil. So, I went to Australia to compete the Pro Juniors when I was 17. When I was 8.
Was that your first trip overseas?
No, my first trip was to Tahiti when I was 13.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, for the ISA games.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why I love Tahiti so much.
Yeah.
It was the first time I ever left my city, actually, was to Tahiti.
You never went anywhere else in the country?
Tahiti.
Natal City
Straight
to Papeete.
Papet.
Wow.
Yeah. Crazy.
And how, why don't we talk about that a little bit? That must have been like a huge culture expansion for you, meeting different people.
Dude, I don't know. I don't know what to say. Everything was just so natural. Like, I was not paying attention for wish I could explain. Not even Portuguese, I know how to explain that, Just like everything just happened just so natural. Like, the contest I was doing, the travelings, felt like I did that before, So crazy. Right. Kind of have this feeling. And even today when I go to places, I see like, oh, I've been here before. But no, I don't know. I don't know how to explain.
It sounds like it ties a little bit to, sometimes people are just born to something, like you were going to play soccer and then you went surfing and you were good right away and you're like, I'm going to do that. I know what I'm going to do.
Crazy, yeah. Wish I could explain how I felt or how was that, but was just so natural. And so when I start to pay a lot of attention, that's the hard time for me. When I was on tour, when I was make good money, that's when I was like, how can I say, I was
thinking too much.
Too much, exactly.
Yeah.
Thinking too much, and that didn't help.
Well, it sounds like, especially in those early years, it was so it's not even a focus, but as you said, it was very natural. So, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that and I'm going to do that. And it's very simple and I can concentrate and I can do my best.
And that's what I'm thinking at the moment. And that's what I'm going to not try to do. That's what I'm going to do in 2020,
Do you feel like that started, you talked about it a little bit already, that started to change after you won in 2010 when things started getting a little complicated and you started overthinking things? Do you think that's a big pivot point for you?
I didn't get it.
Oh, I just mean, you said for a while things were very simple and clear. And then do you think it changed when you won that CT in 2010?
Oh, yeah. That's what happened.
Yeah.
When I won that contest, I didn't expect to win that contest. I was just surfing, just as every single contest I compete since that one. I was just surfing and just want to do airs, just want to fly every single wave I caught, And then after that thing, I was like, whoa. So put too much pressure on myself, was just listening to every single one that was talk about myself. And wasn't a good time, but then it was a really hard time. But at the same time was the most important moment in my career to be where I am right now and where I want to get. That's definitely going to help me.
It's a good reference point.
Yeah.
Do you think that the way that your sponsors talk to you and the way the media talk to you, did that contribute to the pressure and expectations after that?
100%.
I mean, I remember because I was there and it was a huge moment.
And it's being a fault because he should protect me and he didn't. I tell him that straight up.
Yeah.
We have a really good relationship, but I was too young. He kind of wants to protect me, but I was just, I'm going to answer this, blah, blah,
Sure. I mean, it was 2010, right?
2010, yeah.
So it's such a lightning rod because Kelly was going after 10 world titles in 2010, and here he is having a pretty good start to the year, and he comes up against you in the final. And probably what gets lost a lot in the conversation is the kind of surfing you were doing was just so radical in competition. You were just doing these high velocity aerials, air reverses, different tweaks, inverted, that people had seen maybe in videos, but never consistently in competition. And that you really broke the door down for that in a lot of ways.
Yeah, and Kelly's such a smart guy, and he knows how to play with people head. And that's what he did to me. I mean, he didn't. I don't think he saw me as world title contender back then. I don't think that. But he said something that really did not help me at all, and got into my young head. And yeah, I had a really hard time back then. And
because you were 19.
I was 20.
20, and correct me if I'm wrong. I think you said something about, well, let's see how he does it. J-Bay and Tahiti.
And he said I was never ever going to win another contest again, maybe not even get in the final.
Have you talked to him about that since?
He knows what he said.
Well, and it's you're not the only person he's said that to.
I know.
I think it's something that is sort of programmed within him.
I don't blame him at all because of that, because
he was probably pissed. He just lost to a
20-year-old. He was pissed, of course. And that's where I say, that's why I said that Pinga should protect me over there. I was 20 years old. I was really young, and I didn't even know what was going on. And he knew that I was stressing about all those things. So he, as I said, he tried to talk to me and say like, but I don't know. I mean, I know a lot of things. My career would be different if I had dealt better with that situation.
It could have been something as well. It was a learning experience for everyone because it was also kind of the first time that the internet was coming on in surfing, and like people in the comment sections of websites were being really like aggressive and mean and vocal and stuff. I remember that was a huge few years when people were like, oh, I can't believe these people are saying things about me. And that would get fueled by something that would happen in a contest or something that someone would say in an interview. And then it would just kind of keep going. And social media would come online and be just another thing. And
I always loved to be on the internet. So I was reading everything, I saw everything that was going on from every single one. and that freaked me out.
So if you had done that 5 years before, you wouldn't even be on the internet reading that stuff. It wouldn't have existed.
I know. And maybe if I did that 5 years later, wouldn't be that bad.
Because you would have matured a bit, you think? Or?
Yeah, and also Medina was there before me, so people was going to pick on Medina.
there's a saying, right? That's like, first through the door gets the bullet.
Yeah.
Right. And you had Adriano, but then yourself, and that was actually a year you were both really challenging Kelly in 2010, and it feels like you guys took a lot of shrapnel for that.
Yeah, I mean, it helped me to say that in Portuguese we say I was the Cristo. That makes sense. Like people judge God on the cross, like
right.
when people were throwing rocks on him.
Yeah.
People in Brazil say that I was that guy at that moment. Because after me was Gabriel, was Felipe, and no one was not even say anything about them.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say again, I'm never gonna compare myself with Felipe and Gabe. You know, I'm not saying I'm as good as those guys. I'm just saying that I was the very first one, and so everybody pick on me. And if it was Medina, they were going to pick Medina.
Yeah. Oh, it's totally different circumstances.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I was talking about at the front, where it's like, where do you see yourself in the long arc of Brazilian surfing, right? And in a lot of ways, you had to break a lot of doors down, whether it was challenging the status quo of Kelly and winning events, and then taking a lot of heat for that, for those guys to come along. What were some of the things that you would read that would really get to you? Like, what was that like?
I was just thinking right now about, maybe that's not the question right now, but I was thinking about Aunt Iris, the year that he passed away.
Same year.
2010, same year. And everyone were saying about, like, he only does airs. I want to see how he does in heavy waves and blah, 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 blah. So I remember that year in France, Le Gravier was pumping about 7 to 9 feet, just perfect right barrels. And I had Jeremy in my heat, and Mimi was comboing me for like 26, 27 minutes. And then in 3 minutes, I had 2 excellent scores going right, getting barrels. And I beat him. So everyone were like so surprised with what I did. And right after my hit, and the artist called me and said, hey, don't ever pay attention for what people are going to talk about you. If they talk bad about you, it's because they worry about you. And you are just like me. When you want something, you go there and you make it happen. And 1 week after, he passed away. But he was telling me about those guys.
And that's why he's like a chills. That's why he's the people's champ. He used to say this thing, and I've probably said it in a bunch of podcasts already, but he goes, everyone wants you to win your first world title, and then after that, everyone wants you to lose. So I think he experienced that a lot too. Like you're on top of the world, and then you become the target. But also, I mean, at 20 years old, and I feel like this is similar with a lot of surfers that come up, like they might be really, really excellent at one part of their surfing, but they understand they have to get better at different parts. And people, I think at that time, just didn't give anyone any time to get better. Whereas in reality, when you're 20, you need a few years to develop. Maybe it's heavy reef waves, or maybe it's power turns or something like that. Is that something that over the course of those years you worked on different parts you were surfing?
Yes, I definitely did. And I knew what I had to improve so much. And I still think that I still have to improve a lot. And
what parts do you think you still have to improve on?
Every single thing. I mean, carve, airs, my line, my everything. I feel like I still have room to improve a lot, and that's what makes me really excited about to be on tour, because I'm pretty sure I haven't not even close to my 100%, and that's good for me, because if I'm almost 10 years on tour and not show my 100%,
Yep.
and if I do the right things and then I get where I think where I can get, it's going to be interesting to see,
For sure. I mean, in the career you had on the CT, there's so many surfers that never ever make it, right? And you had 2010, 2011, 2012 you were on, and then you fell off. And most people that fall off never get back on. And you got back on 2014, 2015, 2016, 2017, fell off again, and then you're back on again. That to me is, you have to have so much perseverance and tenacity to do that. Like, can you talk about that just career-wise and, you know, being on tour, falling off tour, learning? Like, what are some of the things that you've walked away from those years with?
That's how I think. When I first qualified in 2009, I didn't plan to qualify. You know, I didn't plan. I just was competing.
You weren't overthinking.
Yeah, I was just enjoy that thing. So, and then I qualified, and then I had a really good first year. So, and then I went like all the way to the top, and then all the way to the first step, and then all the way down, and then. So when I first fall off on tour, I was like, I did that in 2019 when I didn't even plan. So I'm gonna do it again, and I did. So I had another 3 nice years, and then I fell off again. I was like, I'm gonna do it again. And yesterday I was talking to a friend, and that he asked me the same question. Like, dude, I think you're the guy who qualified the most times, and just trying 1 year. And I was like, and do you know what? If I ever fall off again, I'm going to re-qualify again. So, yeah, and answer your question, I knew I had a lot to improve when I first qualified. I never surfed J-Bay before I went there for the first time. And I didn't even know what to do in the wave. I was like, that's definitely a wave that I need to improve. Of course, triple, pipe, those waves. And I've been working a lot, and as I said, I'm not even close to be what I want.
Well, and I mean, in that window too, there's also so much to deal with just as a human being. It might be injury, it might be sponsorship, it might be managing finances, it might be a relationship. Like, so much happens at the same time while you're trying to compete at an elite level and get better at the same time.
And that's one of the things I was talk with my friends, that it's maybe gonna sounds bizarre, but I never really had a year that I was just focused on myself, on train and surf and do well. Always being like worry about my family, my friends, worrying about everyone. Even on tour, being worried too much about my friends. And then today I see that I don't know if I can say that, but that was kind of a mistake. Because if I'm not 100% ready to do that, it's going to be bad for everyone.
Yeah, I mean, and it is one of those things that people talk about all the time, but like, if you want to be the best, you have to be very selfish.
Yeah.
And even just in the time of this conversation, you've expressed how unselfish you are, whether it's taking care of family or doing your own bills or whatever it is. And yeah, I mean, you look at a lot of other people on tour, men and women, at the very top, they've got, you know, manager, publicist, coach, someone to carry their boards, you know what I mean? And it's
always
like,
been myself, just me.
Yeah,
to
doing
do all
everything.
those things.
Yeah.
Yes. And that's just crazy, because yesterday I had this conversation with a guy from Rio that has been helping me this year. So I just told him about everything that I was going through this year. And he was like, wow, that's crazy. But if you don't change, you're not going to get any better, you know? And I'm not saying that I'm going to be mean or I'm going to be a bad guy or people will stop to like me, but definitely going to be different next year for better for me. I mean, I don't care what my friends or even my family, I don't care what they're going to think about me, you know? Because I know if I don't do this at this time, I'm gonna pretty much waste another year, and I don't want to do that. I want to go there and fight for the first place. I want to go there, and when I surf against Italo, against John, I want to really like go and swing. You know, I don't want to be there just to make sure I'm gonna be on tour for 1 more year to make a good money and help my family. No, I want to be there to. I don't know what's gonna happen, but at least I wanna give this opportunity to me, you know?
For sure. I mean, I think another way to think of it is, you know, you're obviously very close with Adriano, Adriano, similar to you, fell in that middle section between, Neco Flavio era and the Brazilian Storm. And he took a lot of heat, like building the pathway for a lot of those guys. And his legacy could have been building the pathway for Gabriel to win the world title. And that could have been it. But then I think it's one of the most underappreciated stories in surfing that he was able to come back and say, no, I have a title too. Because he could have been done. Surfing likes the next thing.
I know.
And he could have been done, and he didn't. And I think, like, similar to what Gabrielle was saying last year in Tahiti, you have all the weapons. If you look at your competitive pedigree, if you look at how you've matured in heavy water in Tahiti, and your rail game in big beach breaks or point breaks, I think it is one of those things where it is, once you put it together, he's right, you're going to be really dangerous. I mean, you already are. I mean, last year on the QS, that was kind of the joke. It was like you qualified for 2021 before the CTC, or 2020 before the CT even started.
Funny thing. Yeah, but that's the thing. Like, it's time for me to focus on myself and do the things that I have to do. Not try. I gotta do that. It doesn't mean that I'm gonna be top 10 or I'm gonna be fighting for the world title. But what I want to do for myself is when I'm done with this CT, when I'm done with my professional surfing, I will be happy with myself. Like, I did what I had to do, So, because if I'm done today, I was going to sleep every single night, blame myself not to give 100% for myself, So, yeah, I feel like to be really close to Gabriel, it's a really nice opportunity for myself to see what he does, what his family does. I have a really good relationship with his dad, with his mom, with him, with his whole family. And even when we surf against each other, of course the family want him to win, but you see how much they love me and respect me. They don't freak out. They don't go like, anyway, so...
Will you get insight into what that support group looks like around someone like him?
And I hope I can have a really great year next year, and I hope they don't change with me if I be fighting for the whole title.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, even over the course of the last few years, it feels like because of who you are and your talent and your story and your tenacity, and I mean, even if you become an asshole next year, you're still a nice guy. You're still Jadson Andre. It feels like you have a lot of people supporting you on the sponsorship side now too, which is not always the case.
Yeah. Right now I have a really nice people that is helping me, and also a Brazilian brand that is helping me. So I'm not really worried about sponsorship right now. So right now for 2020, I have everything that I need to do well, or at least to have a year that I'm gonna do the right things for myself. Be able to surf, to travel, to train, and not thinking about what people is doing back home, what is going on back there. Because I see what the number one guys does, and they not worried about the family. They not worried about any other thing. They just worry about you be better and better and better. And that's crazy to say again, but I never been like that. And it's time.
I mean, it sounds like you've already answered this, because you don't want to stay up at night wondering, what if I tried harder, or what if I didn't give it everything. But in terms of your legacy moving forward in your career, in your own surfing, in your life, what do you think about? What is the goal?
My year is done right now. So 2020 is about to start, and I want to go big. I want to make finals. I'm so glad we have G-Land back. That's a wave that I definitely can do pretty good, can be in the final. Tahiti. I mean, I see every single contest on tour, I can see that I can do really well. Quarters, finals, semis. And if I do that in 1 year, I'm going to be fighting for the world title. People are going to think like he's out of his mind. But if I don't trust myself, who will?
I think that goes back to what Gabrielle said. He knows that you have those tools, know, and as you said, there's not one spot on tour where you can't see yourself in the quarters, semis, and finals, and that's what all the top guys do. And if you have a consistent year, you're in.
Yeah, so I really hope 2020 is going to be my year.
Awesome. All right, before we go, we're going to do the lightning round questions. 10 questions, answer as fast as you can.
Okay.
If you only got to surf one board setup for the rest of your life, single fin, twin fin, thruster, quad, bonzer, or finless, what do you choose?
Thruster.
Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Burrito or pizza?
Pizza.
Last book you read?
How can I say that in English? O poder da ação. Power of action makes sense? I don't know.
That makes sense. Best surf film ever?
3 Degrees.
One wave you never have to go back to?
The box.
If you only get to surf one wave for the rest of your life?
Chopu.
Best person to share a lineup with?
John Florence.
Worst person to share a lineup with?
I don't know. I'll almost answer that right away.
They probably know.
They do.
Finish this sentence. I will next achieve a state of happiness by...
Oh, I didn't understand. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. No, don't worry about it. It's how I'm going to be happy next because...
Oh, I will be happy next because I will have another opportunity.
Jadson, that was awesome. Thanks, man.
Thank you.
That was so good.
Thank you.
So that's it. That's our conversation with Jadson Andre. I hope you enjoyed it. I know I did. And I truly believe him when he says the 2020 world title is the goal. There's no reason it can't be for someone like him with his talent and certainly his tenacity. If you haven't listened to the other pods, please download, listen, and subscribe if you like them. And as I mentioned in the upfront, we won't be releasing an episode next Friday, January 31st, but we will be back on Tuesday, February 4th, and we'll begin releasing them on Tuesdays moving forward. Hope you get some waves wherever you are, and we'll see you next Tuesday.